Happy Spiritual Sunday. There we go. Las Vegas. In this case, what happens in Las Vegas doesn't stay in Las Vegas, right? Because Barbara's going to share it all around the world. Oh, here we go. Now we go. Oh, Macedonia again. Portland, Oregon. Hong Kong. Cape Town. Look at that. We got the four corners of the world showing up, right? In simple terms, where does the internet not reach? What part of the world really? Again, in simple terms, don't say, well, exactly this little place in the middle of some cave somewhere. But basically, the internet will reach everywhere on Earth, yes? So then, what part of the world really are we disconnected from? None. We're not disconnected from anywhere. Right? On a physical level, the World Wide Web goes everywhere. So as we speak about it, so does the soul World Wide Web go everywhere. Right? There's no soul out there, no person out there that we are not completely connected to, nor they connected to us. Everyone is connected. So what you and I are learning here is how are we going to create influence on all those people with the light of the Creator, instead of letting 8 billion, even small pieces of our chaos, discord, disharmony, guilt, shame, affect 8 billion people. Right? As simple as the only way, and I know we keep repeating it, because that opponent in our head is going to keep making us forget it, not believe it in the human way, what have you, so we have to keep reminding ourselves. What's the only way in this universe to get rid of darkness? Yeah, just turn on the light. You can't fight darkness with darkness. You can't tell the darkness how powerful you are, how great you are, how smart you are, how rich you are, whatever, you know, what talents and abilities you have. The darkness will laugh at us. The only thing that can take away darkness is the light. So you and I are learning here, and as we're about to do our affirmation, we've got to just keep reminding us the light is the only thing taking away the darkness, and we're full of light. So everywhere we go, we have the light switch. Like when you go home, you go to your light switch, you flip the light switch, the light goes on and takes away the darkness. So the same way, the Creator's implanted inside every one of us a light switch. Number one, the light, and the ability to turn on the light. So what the center's teaching us is how to activate that light of the Creator everywhere we go and under any and all circumstances. Because it's the only way we'll get rid of our chaos, which is what we want to understand today. So let's just go right into, for you here in the room, it's over there on the screen. For those of you online, we're going to say it together to keep engraving it deeper and deeper in our heart and our soul, so that when the challenges happen, we'll be able to remember this consciousness. So let's say it together. Consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. Towards all human beings. Okay. So let's start like this. Where do you have chaos? We want to talk about chaos, right? Because it's just a memory, right? We forgot. There's been no chaos in the world the last 10, 20, 30 years, and so we want to bring it up today. Yes, I am teasing. There's a lot of chaos in the world, no? So think about where you have chaos in your life. Just close your eyes for a moment if you need to and think one area that you have chaos. And then think about how does that feel? When you're in the midst of that chaos, what do you feel? Chaotic. Okay, and what does that mean? That you don't feel stressed? You don't feel confused in the midst of chaos? So this is what we want to understand, because it appears to be that in the midst of chaos, when there's a difficult situation and we're confused or we're feeling chaotic, right? Like, why is this going on and what's happening and I don't understand it? So the stress comes in. along with the confusion. And we need to understand why, because as we just affirmed, consciousness is everything. So if a person does not understand the cause of stress and confusion, how will you ever get rid of it? Not temporarily, because I already heard your voice, Mr. Certain People here. Oh, how do you get rid of chaos and confusion? Just take a pill. Just have a drink. I don't know, take a drug. Then the chaos all disappears. But not forever, only temporarily, till that whatever it is wears off. Oh, excuse me, some of the people here online are thinking, I don't do that, I go to the gym, right? You want to get rid of stress, you go to the gym and work out. Great, and what happens when you leave the gym? That problem that brought the stress and the chaos is back again. Because the gym doesn't take it away. You know, the Rav used to say when people said, oh, they weren't feeling well, they're going to go lay down in bed. And again, I'm not telling you not to lay down in bed, but it's consciousness. So the Rav looked at them, I'll never forget the first time I heard the Rav say, oh, Rav, you know, Rav Berg, my teacher, he said, oh, I got to go lay down, you know, not feeling well and need the rest. And the Rav looked and said, really? I never knew that beds have healing powers. Because that's how we have the illusion. Go to bed, lay down for a while, oh, you wake up, sometimes you wake up, okay, the stress seemed to go away until when? Till you go outside, or the person calls, or you need to deal with a situation. Then it shows up again. But while it's not there in front of you, or it's not now in your mind, no stress, no chaos, right? Because you've distracted yourself with some other piece of your life that you don't seem to have that chaos. Okay, just checking. So then what's the real source? What's really going on? Why do you have chaos? Why is it a stressful situation? Because the voice in our head is saying, you'll never get out of this. Why are they doing that to you? The bottom line is, we don't see the solution. If you saw the solution, the moment something bothered you, and you could see clearly the solution, would you have stress? No, not at all. Okay, you know, it's like, you ever walk into your, okay, they're fighting with me. My Libra's fighting with. This side wants to say laundry, and this one wants to say dirty dishes. So you pick yours. I give you a choice, right? You ever walk in your house and see the laundry or your dirty clothes thrown all over, or the dishes thrown, you know, in the sink like that? Okay, so it's disarray, right? There's disorder, but you don't really have stress per se. You know how to wash the dishes, I hope. I had someone recently tell me, I haven't touched a cleaning cloth in 20 years. I thought, really? Okay. So for that person, I could understand maybe nobody at home, no cleaning person, maybe a little stress, right? Because they don't know how to clean. But you and I know how to do dishes. So, okay, yes, it may be uncomfortable, but you know how to put the dirty dishes back into their clean order and put them back in the cabinet. So there's not stress and confusion. Right? You may have anger at somebody who put the dishes in the sink while you were gone. Okay, but that's a different issue. But you follow? Anytime we have chaos, it really means, what's the word? What does chaos mean? Just disorder. It's just disorder. In and of itself, chaos doesn't mean stress. Stress and chaos are two different things. Yes, we associate them together. We often experience them together. But that's again, because when we see the disarray, like me, how many times do I have to tell you? I have trouble with my cell phone, I have trouble with my computer. I could get stressed, but fortunately, I have my kids to call, right? Because they know how to do it, or I have an IT guy here who can do it. So I'm not so stressed in that way, because I know where I can find the answer. So when you're thinking about stress and confusion, or you think of the chaos, oh, look at the chaos in the world. So you say, okay, maybe your life is perfectly okay. You feel everything's in order, fine. But you look out at the world out there and you say, oh my God, so much chaos going on. What does, again, that mean? Why are we tense about it? Because we don't know what to do about it. Or worse, the voice in our head, that parasitic programming that we put in there to ultimately give us direction where and how we haven't been shining our light, where and how there's still darkness in our life. And we didn't come into this world to have darkness. We came in this world to walk into the dark, so to speak, of this world and turn on the light from our soul, just like you do at home. Turn on the light, darkness goes away. So that's why we came here. But when you see the chaos going on out there, isn't the same thing? The voice in our head says, how in the world can the world solve this? Thousands of years, there's been the same thing, fighting, this, that, and the other thing, and there's never been a long-term answer, right? One war turns into the next. Because why? How many of you really like to lose? Don't like to lose. Not even a simple argument, right? You don't want to lose. So that voice in our head will make us fight not to lose. So now you have two sides of whatever the discussion is. Both don't want to lose. At the same time, what does each one want? To win. So if both sides don't want to lose and both sides want to win, when are you ever going to come to some harmonious conclusion? Agreement. You won't. Because as long as people are fighting to win or fighting not to lose, it'll just keep going on. Friction, 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 friction. And just like the Rav told us probably way back in the late 80s, early 90s, when you do like this, you rub your hands together, what starts to happen to them? Heat. So when there's friction among people, 8 billion people with a little bit of friction between themselves, between each other, what goes out into the cosmos? Not only physical heat, but spiritual heat. And the same way physical heat creates discord, how much more the spiritual? And the spiritual can go everywhere. Right? You could say, okay, if there's fires somewhere, okay, it heats up the atmosphere a little bit, puts some smog in the atmosphere, but that's about it. But when there's spiritual smog, spiritual heat from people's negative reactive behavior, that can cause fires, hurricanes, earthquakes, floods. It can cause disease. It can cause pollution. It causes all forms of chaos because the light is everything. And if a person using their light to do negative actions, then they're creating all of their universe, which means the nature in all forms to also be chaotic, not just a piece. So it impacts their relationships, protection, peace, health, prosperity. Every part of their life is influenced. So this is the beauty of what we're learning here. If I change me, my whole world changes. And not only that, but then I'll also influence other people. So just one quick note, and I don't want to make it a class on stress, but since we brought it up, so where does the stress come in? In other words, yeah, we're used to saying, okay, if I don't know the answer and something comes and I'm, chaotic, I don't see an answer, then the stress comes in. But let's go to the next level because we're here learning in the Kabbalah Center. What is stress? So if you ask a scientist or an engineer, what is stress really? Two forces pushing against each other. Right? Two forces in opposite direction. You and I right now, we're sitting in chairs on the floor. So because gravity is pulling us down, there's a downward force on the floor. Is that clear? Now, if there were no opposite force of the floor and the concrete pushing up, what would happen right now? Exactly. Say it loud. The floor would collapse. Right? Because everything would be going in one direction. But the engineers came up with a way to make the floor push up versus gravity pulling down. So the floor has stress on it. That's what architectural engineers are about. Right? If you're going to build a multi-floor building, they got to be able to put enough support that the stress of all the people walking and machinery and what have you won't collapse the floor. So then why is there stress when we're in a chaotic moment, when there's a sense of disarray? Because the light, which is always shining, that's why it's never up to the Creator to do anything in this world. It's up to us, because the light of the Creator is just shining 24/7, period. Now it's up to us how we make use of it. Ignore it, use it in a good way, bad way, or whatever. So imagine when chaos, disarray comes into a person's life in any way, immediately the light of the answer and the solution is shining in and through the person or into the person. So if the light is coming into the person, and the person, because of all their past history of insecurity, fear, hopelessness, etc., in essence, is now pushing against the light. So you have the light and the darkness inside the person pushing in opposite directions. That's why people are stressed. But when a person learns in the center and learns how to channel the light, then in essence, the light flows and the darkness will go with it. The darkness cannot fight the light. It can only make the person not channel the light. It can taunt us to not channel the light. Metaphorically, it can influence a person not to turn the light switch. But once you turn the light switch, the darkness has no chance. No chance. So a person feels stressed, yes, on the one hand, because they don't see the solution, but not just that, don't see the solution. But the stress comes because the light coming in with the solution, with the answers and the clarity, is pushed against the person's anger, fear, jealousy, ego, guilt, shame, judgment, whatever's holding them back, and making that disarray confusing and that deeper sense of anxiety. That's where stress. So you and I are learning. Now, in the long run, which side do you think is going to win? Our illusionary darkness, our reactivity, our selfishness, or the light of the Creator? Love, kindness, compassion, all those good things. In the end, which wins when you turn the light on in your room? The light wins 100% of the time. Never in the history of humanity has darkness ever won. Ever. Ever. I just want to remind you, ever. Never, ever. Darkness cannot win. Cannot. So then our job is just to let it out. So as we could see, like we said with the dishes or the laundry, what have you, as you can see the solution, as you come to understand the system, then it's easier to deal with it and have peace, serenity inside you while you're handling the situation. Nobody says in Kabbalah, certainly in the center, ignore it, walk away from it, pretend it's not there. No, because disarray is going to be disarray. It's like the whole thing, you brush it under the rug. Sounds great, right? Because once you put it on the rug, you don't see it. But like I learned way back with all the smart kids in 3rd and 4th grade, right? So we're not talking geniuses at that time. Well, they were geniuses, but in potential. But you said you start putting too much under the rug, what starts to happen? Get a little bump in the rug. Then when a person walking in their room in the dark, they trip over the bump that they created. And now there's negative effects, negative impacts. So you can't just brush it under the rug and pretend it's not there. You and I are learning, no, in fact, the opposite. The old concept of the philosopher's stone, the desire of probably all of us, at least once we understand the concept, if you had a machine that could turn any garbage in life to gold, whatever gold means to you, health, peace, love, prosperity, all that kind of stuff, would you just ignore it? Or would you say, oh, I want that kind of machine? Yes? So that's what you and I are learning here, because darkness is simply the covering over our blessings, our gold. So if you run away from it, you're actually running away from your treasure. Someone was telling me, because I shared this with somebody, said, oh, so then our darkness is like a treasure map. If you had a treasure map, again, to the treasure of something that's extremely valuable in your life, would you ignore it? Would you say, oh, I'm not going to dig 3 feet in the ground to get this treasure? You'd be digging. Would you be stressed out? No, you'd be happy. Every time you're digging, you say, wow, closer, closer. I'm already envisioning the reward. Like if you had the ticket, you had the winning ticket to the lottery, $50 million after taxes, and you had to get to Ohio, would you say, oh my God, I don't want to get to Ohio, I'm so stressed out. You'd be singing and dancing the whole way because you're already envisioning what you're going to do with your $50 million. This is what we're learning here, but to see it relative to the light of the Creator, which is more valuable than anything in the physical world. Because the physical world, the material by itself can't turn into the light, but the light can turn into anything in the physical world. So then we go to the Zohar, and we talked a little just before we went online here. The Zohar is the blueprint of the universe. It's just that simple. If you think metaphorically, because we know God is not a physical being and this, that, and the other thing, but just relative to our human understanding, every building that gets built has a blueprint. Because if you don't have a blueprint, you're not going to be able to build a complete building. Because somewhere along the line, even the most experienced contractors will miss a piece of it. But if you have a blueprint, you have all the answers. One, how to build it, and two, how to repair. Right? If a person wants to repair something in their house and they got to fix electrical lines, well, they can tear all the walls apart to try and figure where it is, or just go to the blueprint and see where they lined it up in the first place. Obviously, much more important, impactful, and effective. So the Zohar is the blueprint of the universe, giving us the whole system of how everything is set up. What's the system? And therefore, not only the way it's built to understand our purpose in life and why we're here and how things operate the way they do, but also how to fix them. When you think about, why do you take your car to a mechanic? In simple terms, because most of us don't know how the car works. The mechanic knows the system, so he or she knows how to diagnose and then fix whatever the issue is. Like we said with IT, if you have an issue with a computer and you don't know, you take it to somebody who knows the system and they can just repair it because they know the system. So like we said, they just do their work and repair it. No stress, no muss that way. They just know how to do it. So you and I are learning, but therefore we have to learn how to see the disarray in its true orderly form through Kabbalah. So I want to go through a few of them here. And if what any of the things I'm about to tell you start to push your buttons, then if you have a Kabbalah teacher, speak with them. If not, you can, text me, write me an email, and we can have a discussion, right? But don't let something that may push your buttons in these next few examples cause you to disconnect from the light reactively. There's a solution. Willing to discuss it and see new perspectives, which I hope you'll start to get anyway. So let's start with one of the big ones that is going on in the world, politics. People fighting over politics. So I shared this with people last week, and they're inspirational to me. Because again, like I said before we went online, the Zohar, if it's the blueprint, it discusses everything. So even in its simplest terms, at least in America, because I'm not familiar with all the other political systems per se, but in simple terms, okay, let's go to a city, a small city. I grew up in Redondo Beach, California, okay, so we'll take it away from maybe some of the button-pushing things going elsewhere, but at least you'll understand the concept. So my father was involved in city politics. He was a city councilman. So to get elected, he would literally go knocking on doors and just introduce himself and tell his, what his views are and this and ask their support, right? So how did he get elected? In simplest terms, the majority of people in his district voted for him, which means as the concept even of politics, let's say in his case, the councilman is literally representative of the majority thought energy of his constituents. And the Zohar says very simply, remember, in its written form 2,000 years ago, people get the leaders they deserve. Which, like we're saying, the ultimate majority of energy, not even people, the majority of energy will manifest as a political leader. So when people are pointing the finger like this and this and this, so this is the way I want to share it with you, so we can truly do something about it in a lasting way, not temporarily. Because, here, every 4-8 years, you can vote this one out and this one in and this one out. But let's look at the history of America, even over the last 200 years. When has there been somebody in office that completely wiped out all the chaos in America forever? No, there's chaos in this form, and then there's a change of whatever, and then there's a chaos in this form. I mean, people are not going to like anybody in office at any time. There's always going to be those things. So for us to change it, we have to go back to us. So let's think of it this way. People point to me, these politicians are all greedy, right? They're all greedy, take bribes, on and on and on and on. We learn from all the great Kabbalists, and we learn here in the classes, when, like the cute little saying where the teachers came up with, you spot it, you got it. So people look at it and say, I can't stand that person, so greedy. Look in the mirror. So we may not be greedy, let's say, on millions of dollars, but can you honestly look in the mirror and say you're not greedy in some way, shape, or form? Yes, it may be, in this example, it may be greedy of $1, $10. So you don't, not such a big deal, right? Oh, but greedy of 10 million, that's terrible. No, but it's the same thing. Greed is greed. For 5 cents or $50 million, greed is greed. So if you take, let's say with my father's case, not that he was greedy, but you understand, a small town. So let's say he had 10,000 constituents. So if you have every one of the 10,000 greedy for $10, and not him, but a councilman greedy for, now, let's see, for $10 times 10,000, $100,000. People say, oh, $100,000, they're stealing from the city $100,000. Yeah, but everybody's stealing $10. It all adds up, right? So it adds up that way. So when we're pointing the fingers at those politicians, look at yourself and overcome some form of your greed. I forget, maybe not money. How many of you are greedy for attention? Right? So you'll go to different people. Hey, look at me. Attention. Greedy in the same way. Greed is greed. Doesn't matter if it's for attention or it's for money or what have you. So now we can start to see the bigger picture. So you want to change politics. Don't try and think, and again, I'm not telling you not to vote or whatever, but don't think that that is going to change things. The physical world never is the cause. It's only the effect. Okay? Let's go to the next one. Money. So people, all the judgment did this, that on money. Again, blaming greedy people. Oh, the con person. Somebody who's conned them out of something. Well, hello. I remember hearing long before I was in the center, the only people who could be cheated in a deal, like conned in a deal, are people who want to be conned, or who want to con the other one. So somebody comes years ago, before I was in the center, it was the holidays, and so at the time, where I grew up was the biggest mall in America, right? Because 2 malls joined together. So I'm going shopping, and as I'm walking through the parking lot, which was very crowded, there's a cargo van with the back doors open, and some guy standing there. And as people walking by, he's going, hey, psst, come. And he starts to tell the story. He works for a speaker manufacturer, and they have this big overrun of speakers, and these are $1,000 speaker, but because they had an overrun, they're willing to sell them for $100. Think. Who's the person who's going to be tempted with that? You follow? And again, we're not judging the person. We want to understand consciousness. The person who thinks, oh, great deal. I'll buy it for $100. If it's really worth $1,000, I could sell it for $150, $200. The person who wants to kind of cheat the deal is being cheated by the one who's cheating in the beginning, because the speakers are only worth $50 in the end of the story. So they're selling it for $100. They're making 100%. And the person who buys it thinks that they're going to make, you get it? Like has to attract like. Has to attract like. So when a person's pointing their finger with the money issue, or they're upset because they don't have enough, they're limited, etc., go back to the universal law. And I don't want to make this a class on that, but go on Kabbalah.com if you're a member, look it up, tithing. Why is it that every religion on earth teaches a person should give away 10% of their income? Right? You get a check. After taxes, let's say, $1,000, you've got to go give away $100. Have to. It's a law of the universe, because not giving away the 100 doesn't belong to us. So then the person who's not giving that 10% and then loses money, hello, why? The universe is just taking back what they didn't give away. That's the way it works. And if you're honest and you look at your own finances, you will see it. 37 years, I've asked everybody, I said, I challenge you. Every penny comes in, every penny goes out, and tell me, if it's not exactly that 10% or some part of the 10% you didn't give away that was lost. Parking ticket, fine, fender bender, I don't know, buying something that breaks, something in some way, shape, or form, you use money and don't get the blessing. That's it. So stop blaming other people, because look, again, comes back to us. Love. How many of you ever had a bad relationship? Sure, not me, right? But now let's be honest, because again, if we don't objectively look at ourselves and understand in the frame of the system, you'll never fix it. And some of us have probably had the same situation. You get rid of one relationship, you find somebody else, turns out to be basically the same. just another body, different frame, a different look. But it's the same thing over and over again because we understand it's from our point of view. So if we are the same, we're going to keep attracting the same. Okay, so what is it? And here, again, generally think this way. Two people start in a relationship, and like all outside truly spiritual relationships, people sort of ante into the pot, right? Two people going to be in a relationship, so they sort of throw something in the pot. I'll be nice to you, you be nice to me, I'll give you this, I'll make you dinner, blah, 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 whatever it is. So they throw stuff in the pot because they want. They want. So then slowly, each one taking something from it, right? Not really thinking to share, not putting the light as the glue in their relationship. Maybe they both play tennis together, maybe they both like ball dancing together, maybe, whatever it may be, like that. So you have things in common. Oh, now there's attraction. Sure. Parts of the relationship. So each one taking, slowly enjoying the relationship. But even in its simplest term, when the pot runs out, there's nothing left in the pot of that relationship. Now they both feel empty. They both feel lack because there's nothing else to take. And I don't necessarily mean in a bad, negative way. And then it could just be very nicely, just parting ways. Doesn't have to be with fighting, can be, because the stronger the desire to take from the relationship, then the more hurt or anger or upset there is when the pot is empty. Because of course, again, each side assuming I can take, the other one's going to give. And the other one obviously thinking the same thing. I can take and they're going to give. That's the way it works, right? Both want to win and both don't want to lose in all the frames. And so this is why relationships fall apart. So then we have to go back to, no, I have to continue. If I want true blessings in a relationship, I have to keep putting light, not things, light into that vessel, that container of our relationship. Because that's the only way it's going to last. Only the light is eternal. Everything in the physical world is finite. So you put finite stuff in, it's only going to be finite. You put light in it, it can be blessed forever. Even in some cases where people part ways. But if they've been putting light into it, it's because the light's showing them, they paid their spiritual debt, this lifetime or past lifetimes, and now they need to go on to two other people or different ways. So it's a truly peaceful, harmonious parting. Not anger or whatever, hurt that way. No, peaceful. Could be that way. Okay, the last one. Well, at least for today, it's unfair. How do good people suffer and robbers get away with murder and all of that stuff? Again, think, why are people stressed out about that? Because they don't see the system. If you could see the system, you'd say, oh, now I get it. So, even in this lifetime, let's start with this because some of you watching or some of you may not believe in reincarnation, which is okay. But let me ask you a simple question right now. Can you remember go back 2 weeks? Let's say today's Sunday, so let's go back, what is that? 16 days, let's say, to 2 weeks ago, last Friday. Do you remember all the ways that you expressed a little bit of fear, judgment, anxiety, jealousy, guilt, or shame? We can all remember some, but can you remember, let's say, 10 of each or 3 of each? No. So if you believe in cause and effect, every one of those, let's just call them 10 reactive behaviors, even again, little piece, 1 unit of reactivity, but there's 10 of them. And if you can't remember them, so they're flying in the cosmos, and somewhere along the line, those 10 are going to come back to be fixed. So after 2 weeks, somebody comes and says something, pushes your anger button. How could they do that? I've been so nice to them. I've done so much for them. Unfair. But you can't even remember that 2 weeks ago, maybe not to them per se, but it doesn't matter. We are the center of our universe, so we put out a little bit of, anger into the cosmos, and this person coming back to just make us feel our own anger, so we can now transform it into kindness, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance. But because we don't remember, now it looks unfair. How could it be? I was so good to them. Or any form of that. But you and I are learning, I don't care what it looks like. You and I have to hold for our benefit. Forget spirituality being nice, moral, ethical, righteous. No. For our own survival, I have to know everything is cause and effect, no matter what. So Karen Berg, one of her sort of favorite examples this way, adding now the reincarnation. So in the last lifetime, somebody was texting and driving and hit somebody, let's say, and killed them. So it could be in their next lifetime, they have to be born a child, one eye blind, two eyes blind, missing a leg, some kind of, disability. And of course, when you only look at the child, this frame, small frame, like tunnel vision that way, how could it be? What did this child do? Yeah, but if you could see the bigger picture of reincarnation, you know what they did. Or even you and I. How many of us, looking back, don't like the environment you grew up in? How could you have those parents? How could you have those siblings? Whatever it may have been that you're upset about. Okay, you have to know it's cause and effect. Some way or another, you needed that to learn your lesson and pay your debt. And just briefly, I've shared before a personal example. So thousands of years ago in the past life, I killed somebody out of anger. And when I met them in this lifetime, from the first moment I met them, they couldn't stand me. And I didn't understand. I'm such a nice person. I mean, I just met them. They were already kind of needling me, trying to embarrass me, stuff like that. I couldn't figure out why. Quote, unfair, right? Relative to this life. So I put up with about 10, 15 years along the way. And again, I'm in Kabbalah at this point, so I'm sending them light and, looking for something. Okay, so at least it was easier on me along the way. But then I saw a few years back this vision that I had killed this person. And I realized, one, okay, no wonder they didn't like me when they first met me. But number two, that because of what I've been doing in the center, transforming myself and spreading the light by helping other people, all I had to put up with was embarrassment and a little criticism. Because true cause and effect would have been, heaven forbid, Joe kills, Jim, the next lifetime Jim has to kill Joe, right? Killing for killing, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. But because we know how to transform and pay our debts early, so I only had to put up with criticism instead of that other word I don't want to say. So it's not only I saw the exact cause and effect, but I also saw the power of what we're learning in the center. So don't look and say, why do I have to share? Why do I have to transform uncomfortably? What's the big deal? I'm good with everybody. Who knows what is waiting to be collected from past lives, or even earlier from this lifetime that didn't get collected yet. So if you pay up front, you already has a reservoir that the universe can take. So like in my case, a little bit of criticism or, a little bit of, some little embarrassment instead of huge trouble, business collapse, health collapse, things like that, right? I'd rather have that. But the opponent in our head doesn't make us think about it that way. Oh, why should you? If it's not broken, why fix it? Okay, so how many of you, if it's not broken, you're still putting money away for your retirement or the rainy day kind of, why? Just have nothing in the bank. Spend everything that comes your way. Oh, no big deal, right? But unfortunately, boom, comes something along the way, the business stops, or what we had in the last few years, things like that, and all of a sudden, situations change out of nowhere. So you and I are learning, this is the system. Now, just a few things we said, we can see the system. So don't wait for things to show up. Pay up front. I'd rather be overinsured than, so to speak, underinsured. Smarter idea. Okay. Okay. So, Kabbalistically, the thing that for me is sort of our secret weapon, that's how I like to look at it, is we have the blueprint, we understand that every person is full of light, that we're on a spiritual internet, and we can see how things are progressing. So let's put this in your mind. Those of you who, let's say maybe over 40, there is more chaos and intensity of chaos and divisiveness than ever in history. So we want to understand why, using what the Zohar teaches us. So in simple terms, why is there so much chaos? Easy. I'm not saying easy to deal with, but easy to understand if you'll just use a little Kabbalah. in the endless world, and actually the truth of this world, because if the endless world is endless, it's also here now in what we think is our physical world. In the endless world, there's no time, space, and motion. Everything is instant. No time, space, and motion. So how do you know that we are nearing, as the Kabbalists teach us, the end of all chaos? Even though I just told you it seems like there's more chaos than ever, but that Kabbalistically is also the sign that we're nearing the end of all chaos. Why? Because the endless world, which is ultimately what we're here to imitate, or as they call it, heaven in the above, we're here to create a heaven on earth. But in that heaven on earth, there's no time, space, and motion. So if you think about it, the internet taking away time, space, and motion. Just we'll stick with that one idea. So time, space, and motion is disappearing. That's how we know we're coming to the end of chaos. How it will end is up to us. But the fact that there is an end is not up to us. Predestined. So we just have to have the eyes to see it. So if you think about it, the quicker, so to speak, time, space, and motion disappears means like some of us, some of you have said it to me even, the weeks go by like this. Wow, it was just, yesterday seemed like spiritual Sunday. It's already been a week. So, and then that voice in our head, that opponent comes in and says, it's because you're getting older. Really? Why does getting older mean time has to disappear? I never understood that, but I've heard it from a lot of people. The weeks go faster now because I'm older. Why? Why didn't it go faster when you're younger? In fact, that's the way it should be. If you think about general emotional experience, kids, when they're playing, time goes like this. 2 hours and really, that's it. They're being called in for dinner or something. When you get older, on most frame, seems like things take longer. No, so don't blame it on age. Time literally is disappearing. Space is disappearing. Look at the internet. Here we said here this morning. Every morning we're here. I got Hong Kong, Nigeria, Puerto Rico, Peru. Now then, look at some of the other ones. The United Kingdom. We said before, right? Hong Kong, Macedonia. Where did space go? Where did time go? You understand? That's why it's getting intense. Now, that has two sides to it. It means, yes, on the one hand, the good we do, but unfortunately, it also means that the reactive things we do also come back faster. So if you've ever driven a car, just checking, if you're driving 20 miles an hour, and please take it in this frame, I am not endorsing, being distracted while you're driving. But conceptually, a person driving 20 miles an hour, they can kind of take a quick look ahead and, look down, whatever, text, look at their phone, something like this, for a moment like that, because it's only 20 miles an hour. And if they've seen, it's not car by car, okay, you have a second or two. But if now you're driving 200 miles an hour, you can't afford to look away for a microsecond. So as time is disappearing, which means in essence things are speeding up, we have to pay attention all the more. We have to be all the more focused. And that's what I want to give you now. Focused on what? The technology that we learned from Kabbalah 1, and I'm sharing it in somewhat a different way, but the essence is the same. This is the formula how to stay focused and turn all your garbage into gold, to get rid of the chaos and put everything back in order. But not easy. Here it goes. You got to pay attention. So you get triggered. The first thing and the only way that you'll be able to do any of the rest of this or any transformation, when something triggers you and you feel like immediate knee-jerk response, pause. First thing is pause so you can be consciously aware. Now you have these steps. First thing, realize your life is in your hands. Period, end of story. It's not about what they do, it's how you respond that determines your direction in life. Okay? We're not endorsing what they do if it's negative or whatever, but whatever they do, you and I have the power and the way how to direct our response to put us on the path of the light. They don't want to join us on the path of the light, that's their direction, not ours. So how you respond is going to make the difference. There's an absolute law of cause and effect. Absolute. To the most minute detail. So as you're pausing and realizing life is in your hands. Decide, what do you want to come back to you? So you want to act with anger, judgment, fear, guilt, shame. You have the free will to do it. The Creator gave us free will. You have the free will. Go ahead and do it. It's up to you. But realize it's going to go out and come back to you the same thing. So since we all don't want that, what do you want to come back to you? Forgiveness, kindness, love, prosperity. Act that way. Act with compassion. Even they don't like it, even they don't change, don't worry about it. You're transcending them and the immediate. So long term, that forgiveness, compassion got to come back to you somehow when you need it. So then, cause and effect. Identify the voice in your head, that parasitic voice that's saying, it's hopeless, it's helpless, they're doing it again, why do you put up with it? Show them who's boss, all the stuff that encouraging you to react, to decide you want to be on the path of further chaos and darkness and negativity. That's that voice. So once you identify it, that lying voice in your head, then decide you're going to use it for good. So when it's telling you, scream at that person, you're going to say, no, I don't want to scream. I'm going to send them light because I want light to go around. And again, it doesn't mean you're going to give in to them. It doesn't mean you're going to lay down and let them walk all over you. But you can also have your boundary, but with light, with compassion, with care. So that will come back to you. Then ask, because we have no power of our own, ask the light for clarity, guidance, help, support. Because it's going to tell you to share uncomfortably, right? You want to punch them one, and it's going to say, no, forgive them completely. Obviously uncomfortable, but that's what we call transformational sharing. So you need to ask the light, which is the only power there is in the universe, for the strength to be able to do that, to overcome your desire for that knee-jerk response. And then you understand by sharing uncomfortably, you move into your next higher level, so you just elevated above them. So if they're staying in the mud, you just elevated above them. So when they're in their chaos, you're no longer in their chaos. And then the last part of that is just do whatever the light told you to do. Share uncomfortably. Share uncomfortably. Because you'll reveal more light. You've just grown from 60 to 65% of your potential, or what have you. You've raised that level. Now, when you can pause and follow that, guaranteed, your life is going to be better. May not feel it in the moment. Like we said, sometimes there's a process. It can be immediate. It's getting more quick, right? Happening faster. But at the same time, depending on what we still owe. I mean, if you have a $10 debt and you have $10 in your pocket, you can pay it off immediately. If you have a $100 debt and you're only getting, let's say, $10 an hour, so it's going to take you 10 hours to pay it off. But every time you pass an hour, you're $10 more of the debt paid, you follow, and less of the debt. So we have to accept that part of the system also. So just keep paying off your debt. And here's an example as we close, a nice story that I just heard. So you go back, some of you know the name Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He was the channel of the Zohar, right? He was the one it was downloaded to, so he could put it in writing for us. Well, his father-in-law was called Rabbi Pinchas Ben Yair. So there's a very nice story that at the time, which you're talking 2,000 years ago, so there was a man that sort of, as his charity, if you will, as his another way that he gave to people, he knew how to find wells, and so he would go for people and dig wells for them that they'd have water. So for years and years, he was doing this, as a gift to people, just to share with them. So the story goes that the well digger's daughter was, on a trip somewhere, and she comes to this river, and as she's starting to cross the river, it becomes turbulent, this and this, and she drowns. So the word gets to Rabbi Pinchas Ben Yair, that the daughter of the well digger drowned. And he says like this, and this is in the Hebrew Aramaic, he says, Efshar, it cannot be. And remember, Rabbi Pinchas, you got to understand, very high level of consciousness. He says it cannot be. And a few minutes later, all of a sudden there's a big tumult, and the well digger's daughter shows up in town. Literally, she was resurrected. So the Kabbalists explained what happened. This well digger, remember, how could it be that if he was giving water to people to help them live, how could water kill his daughter? Follow, that was the, it can't be. But it says, like you and I have, that every time this well digger did this action, or you and I, every time you share uncomfortably, right? You want to smack them, but you love them, hug them in whatever the form is, says there was like an account in the cosmos, a storage that this well digger was collecting, like a retirement fund or a savings fund kind of thing, of light. So Rabbi Pinchas Ben Yair, when he heard what he heard, he was able to reach into the well digger's storage of light and resurrect his daughter. So you and I have that same account up there. And that's why we're talking about when you share uncomfortably, you do something that's transformational, you're adding to that. Then, whether it's a righteous person like that, or it's just the essence of your soul, when you need from that light, peace, love, protection, prosperity, clarity, whatever it is drawn from your supply. So the more you empower that supply, the more there is for you to get. To not have, like I told you in my case, not to be, heaven forbid, a billion times killed, okay, but a little less. Put up with a little, criticism of this, or sometimes it's completely paid off. Depends on what you owe or how much you owe. But if you keep empowering or adding to that account, much easier to have more peace and harmony and clarity as you're walking through this world. Still dealing with some of the disarray you've created, but more easily put it back in order. Put it back in order. So, closing. Humanity is experiencing accelerating changes, right? Emotions intensifying, more chaos and divisiveness than ever before in history. The good fortune we have is here in the Kabbalah Center, we learn and we emphasize the eternal truth that there's only one soul. The Creator only created what we learned from Kabbalah on one vessel, one soul, filled it with light, but in our illusionary world, it extends this one soul, one infinite light, into 8 billion bodies. So this is where I talk about being on this spiritual internet. So that every one of us who shares our light transformationally, forgiveness instead of impatience or judgment or what have you, we impel every single person on earth to act more godlike by greater love, as we affirm, greater love, compassion, and kindness. And therefore, we bring the world in an accelerated speed, faster and faster, to the Garden of Eden, heaven on earth with mercy. God bless. Okay, thank you. So now is our time. One, I just appreciate, your support, because as we always talk about, there's the center, unfortunately, and if somebody would like to help us with that, that'd be great. But we don't have, what do they call it? I forgot the word. What do they call it? An endowment, right? We don't have an endowment of billions of dollars. Hopefully soon. But, a few $1 billion, we could spread a lot of Zohar and get rid of a lot of chaos. But meanwhile, this is why we take this time to bless the offering. Because when you open your heart and you say, like we're talking about, I want to access 8 billion parts of my soul that are out there, so I want to bring this wisdom and these tools, particularly the Zohar. The Zohar, right? At least the pocket version. You're put in your purse, your pocket, wherever it is. We want to bring it to the world. Because when there's enough light, tilt the balance of power, and then it'll only be light in the cosmos, and everyone will be completely God-like behaviors, and that is peace on earth, when there's that unity, or at least a critical mass of that light. So for those of you who are online, I think I did put it there. Yes, I did. So, please open your heart. I know a lot of you have asked me actually over this last few weeks, how do I donate? And that's why I put the link there, right? Because if you're getting something from what we teach here on Spiritual Sunday or from any part of the center, it's to your blessing to support the center, to reach out to the network of the center, which is 8 billion people. So let's just take a moment, and then we're going to do our meditation preview on one of the 72 names. So just for those of you here in the room, hold your offering in your hands. Those of you online, just do the meditation with us, and then the link is there. First and foremost, gratitude and appreciation for all that the Creator's given us, because we are just vessels, conduits. So our talents, abilities, and therefore all our resources that come from that are actually of the Creator. And our job is to be a conduit, channeling into the world, to reveal the light of our wisdom, our talents, our resources, our abilities, that we can reunite the 8 billion extended pieces of the one soul into pure harmony, love, and unity, so that all people have all the blessings, complete eternal fulfillment in this heaven on earth. And so we envision and give our added love and light, power to this gift, that through the projects of the center, teaching this wisdom to billions of people on the planet, spreading the Zohar to billions of people on the planet, we can bring the end of darkness and pain, suffering, and death that comes from that darkness. And every time we remove some darkness, our blessings are multiplied exponentially. So with love and gratitude, we give this gift, knowing that the universe will bring it back to us exactly when we need it, in exactly the form we need it. And we preemptively give thanks and gratitude for those blessings. And together we say, Amen. So for those of you here, you have on the screen now one of the 72 names. For those of you who are newer, the Hebrew letters are primordial forces. They were not created by a human being. They are particles of the light of the Creator, so they shine light, and eyes being the window to the soul. So we want to just let them run through our eyes. Just let the shapes, in this case, Hey, Aleph, Aleph, order beneath chaos. So it's helping us to have that higher level awareness to see how to put things back into order. So just keep in mind, Hey, Aleph, Aleph, the shapes of the letters, let them be engraved in your mind's eye. And then if I can ask you, just sit comfortably in your chair, feet flat on the floor, hands in your lap. Taking a few deep breaths, breathing in through the nose. Hold the breath for a moment. Exhale through the mouth. Intensifying the flow, the circulation of the light through the air that we breathe, to bring life and greater life, not only to our physical body, through the physical breath, but also an awakening of new levels of the power of the light in our soul. And let's remember, our nature, our natural physiology is showing us the eternal truth of sharing. We can breathe in, but we must breathe out to receive another breath. So as we receive from the universe, from the Creator, from our pure 100% being, for us to have physical and spiritual life, we need to share that with others. So allow yourself to relax. Relax all the parts of your body. Relax your mind into the eternal, infinite light that surrounds you, that fills you. Allowing yourself to be open to its power, to its voice, the voice of your soul. And so we envision the Hey, Aleph, Aleph, the unique frequency of the light of the Creator, to see the solutions, to see through the disarray, and to see the order that we can move that chaos into, so it will bring us greater blessings, peace, abundance, health, love, protection. So see the Hey Aleph Aleph glowing with light and bring it through the top of your head. And allow its energy to activate a higher level of the light in every cell of your being as it travels from head to toe. Hey Aleph Aleph. Feel, take note, if you envision it, the light glowing brighter inside you and shining out, creating a stronger aura of light. Order beyond chaos. In this moment of a strong connection to the light of your soul and this awakening, ask, create a container with your question and true desire, and surrender to the light for clarity on some area of chaos in your life. To see the system, to see it clearly, and to receive from your soul the inspiration and the guidance, how to rearrange it into its original, perfect order. It brings you many, many more blessings, transcendence over some of the chaos in your life and the darkness to a higher level of peace, love, abundance, protection, all the blessings of the light. Crave with all your heart and soul that answer, that solution. And then listen to the voice of your soul. And now together, with this unity that we have created in bonding together in this meditation, let's together beam light as a sphere of energy out to all 8 billion people on the planet. The power of Hey Aleph Aleph. So that every human being on earth is having a spiritual awakening, to feel in their heart and soul there is order, there is a primordial, original system of peace and harmony. And that as we inject and send this Hey Aleph Aleph light to every heart and soul, it's awakening stronger desire for every one of us to act on a higher level of love and kindness and compassion, generosity, humility, tolerance, gratitude. And together, with the power of the light inside of us to create, envisioning together a world of peace, every person happy, peaceful, and from the depth of their soul, looking for ways and doing the actions to help every other person around them. Having that true, ultimate care of love your neighbor as yourself. Because now we see with greater clarity that they truly are me. So I want all of me to have all the vitality of the light in all areas, in all ways. Allow yourself, one, to feel, to acknowledge this new sense of peace, serenity that's awakened in you. Keep it in the forefront of your consciousness. Like a head beam, the headlights in your car shining ahead of you, transmuting the darkness as your shining light 24/7, transforming the darkness to light and the chaos to order. And together, let's take one more deep breath, solidifying and anchoring this new awareness and strength in our own heart and soul and mind. And then slowly, as you exhale, open your eyes. Those of you online, thank you for joining us. Those of you here, thank you for being with us in Boca. Have an amazing week. God bless.
Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to this channel that you'll be notified when we post new videos. Share the video with your friends, they can also benefit. And check out the website, www.kabbalah.com, that's Kabbalah, for hundreds of articles and classes. Wish you an amazing day, and God bless.